What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Morning Vibe. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode we dropped this past Wednesday. Happy Friday morning to each and every one of you. Let's hit you guys with that intro music just one time. Man, I'm telling y'all, I've always said it, and I'll say it now. That intro music just hits a little different on Friday mornings. It really does. Hope you guys have got great plans for the weekend. If you are in our area, it is celebration time. It is celebration time because Red Snapper season opened at 12:01 a.m. this morning. So hopefully you've already got some Keep a Red Snapper in the boat with you if you are watching from the fishing side. If not, that's a big deal for us. It's like a holiday when they open up Red Snapper season here in our area of Florida. But today we got to talk about, we have been lied to. Guys, we have been lied to since we were children. We've been being lied to. I never even realized it, but we've been being lied to. And we've been being lied to about growing up. It's a trap. Y'all, it's growing up is 100% a trap. They're getting us. They're getting us right here where it hurts. They tell us how awesome growing up is, and sometimes it's just not. I mean, what would we not give to be a kid again? Like, sit back and think about that. What would we give to be a kid again? Because I think it would be pretty awesome. But that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about today. Some of them are serious. Some of them are funny. We're going to talk about things that they never told you when you was a kid about growing up. Like what happens when you grow up. Like they never talk about that when we were kids. So like I said, most of these are serious. Some of them are funny, but we're going to roll right into it. I hope you guys enjoy this one. Appreciate you. Again, I know I said it in the last podcast, but I appreciate your guys' patience. I know we haven't uploaded in a little while before this week, but it's just been, it has been hectic, like for real. It's been a hectic time over the course of the last few weeks. If you guys watched the podcast Wednesday, we kind of told the story behind this picture that we've got hanging us up. We changed the background up just a little bit, not a ton. I really didn't address that in the video on Wednesday, but we kind of cornered everything to kind of give us a little bit more space here in the studio. But let's dive into it. Let's talk about some stuff that they didn't tell us when we were kids, or they straight up lied to us when we were kids. And I'm gonna dive right in. You know what? One of the biggest things about growing up that nobody ever told us, this wasn't necessarily a lie. They never told us that when you grew up and you were an adult and you got your own place, that you would have a favorite stove burner. You heard me right. Don't look at me like I'm lying, and don't look at me like I'm wrong, because you know. Now, you might not have ever thought about it, but you got a favorite stove burner in your house. I promise you do. Right now, when you walk in there, if there's something sitting on that stove burner, whether it be the front, back, middle, whatever it is, everybody's got a different one. You've got a favorite stove burner. Who knew that was going to be a thing when we were kids? But you do. Now, I promise you, if you're an adult and you're watching this, you know what I'm talking about. If you're a kid and you're watching this, trust me. You walk in there one day and just watch mom start cooking or dad start cooking. If they walk in there and that front left burner or whichever one's their favorite has got something on it, they'll lose their mind. Their day just got completely flipped around. Like 100% they flipped because everybody's got a favorite stove burner. Nobody told me that when I was a kid. That's one of the funny ones. That's one of the funny ones. We're going to talk about some of the important ones next. What happens when we grow up that changes? And I'll be honest with you guys. I was kind of making light of that first one there, but you know, when we're kids, everything is based on imagination. You can dream of anything. You can be anything you want to be when you're a kid. And then all of a sudden you grow up and like society tells you that those dreams don't matter or those dreams aren't realistic or whatever the case may be. So one of the things that you don't realize when you're a kid is adults are scared of their imagination. They truly are. It's the idea of having an imagination is scary to most adults because once you reach a certain age, if you have an imagination or you have a creative side, a lot of the people around you beat you down and they're like, hey, you go to work, you work your 40 hours a week, you work your 9 to 5, you do whatever. And that, you know, you can't make it as an artist. You can't make it as a musician. You can't make it as a content creator. That happens so much. So adults, when you become an adult, you become scared of your imagination. You really do. It's crazy to think about, but you become scared of your imagination when you become an adult. And it's just like so many people don't realize that happens. And it scares the dickens out of you. It's why so many people are scared to chase their dreams, because society tells them that your dreams aren't important. They don't matter. You're probably not going to achieve them. Now, not everybody. I mean, I can honestly sit here and say I've been so blessed that my entire adult life, I've had my parents who have always supported whatever kind of crazy idea or like venture I was on at the time. And trust me, I've had some crazy ones, but they have always been like super, super supportive, as I have hopefully that I've passed that along to, my children. My oldest son, Chase, is a video game designer. I mean, it's not what he wants to do anymore. Now that he's graduated high school, it's what he's doing. He's being paid to design video games. And, I think that's pretty cool that it's something he's wanted to do ever since he was a little kid, like 6 or 7 years old, and he's still doing it. I think that's pretty cool. But, moving on to the next one, and this one kind of ties into the first one. When you're a kid, everybody asks you what you want to be when you grow up. What do you want to be when you grow up, little Johnny? What do you want to be? I want to be a policeman. I want to be a fireman. I want to be a lawyer. I want to be a doctor, whatever. When you get older, your dreams don't really matter to anybody else. How many times have you been around your adult friends, whether you are, a lawyer, a doctor, whatever you're doing, and your friend like takes the time, and this is not a knock on anybody's friend. This is just, again, the society we live in. They look at you and like, hey, I know you're killing it right now, but what do you really want to do? Like what's in your heart of hearts? What do you really want to be doing with your time right now? Whether it's volunteer work or whether it's a different career path, nobody asks anymore what you want to be or what you really want to be doing with your life. So you have to ask yourself that. That's kind of the question that comes to you at that point is, what do I want to do with my life? What am I happy? I mean, maybe you are. Maybe you worked for, years to have the career that you have, but don't be scared to ask yourself that question, because a lot of people are not going to ask it for you. There's not very many people who are walking up and being like, what do you really want to do? Are you happy with what you're doing? I mean, how many times have somebody asked you if you're really happy with what you're doing career-wise in your life? Because I can almost guarantee you it's few and far between. There's not a lot of them that are out there. And I do have notes on my laptop that I went online and kind of found some of these. So you guys see me looking down. That's why I do have some notes. This next one it's so like, this one hit home with me more than any other one that we are going to talk about today. And that is, spontaneity is the sister of creativity. And I think that's so important, because you guys have heard me talk about before over on the Cameraman Ron channel, there's like so many times where I'd be laying in bed at night and I'd tell Sarah, like, I really feel like I need to go to South Florida tomorrow. I feel like I need to make a set of videos down there. And I would get in the car and I would go. All those trips are spontaneous. It's like, sometimes you can plan creativity. And you guys watch the podcast. If you guys watched that one on Wednesday when Dustin was in with me, we talked about the planning of that trip and how that video came together and the planning that went into it. That was not a spontaneous video. Like I had that video planned for a long, long time. And but it was still a very creative, very fun video. But some of my best videos, through this process have been the spontaneous ones, the ones where I didn't have a plan, or it kind of came up spur of the moment. And we went and we did something that was totally off kilter from, what our normal like step through would be to do. So spontaneity is the sister of creativity. So many times when we're kids, people tell us, they're like, you have to have a plan. You have to have every goal laid out, and you have to have every step of the way, and you have to know exactly what you want. And that's just not true. I'm sorry if that's offending some of the parents out there, but you have to have a roadmap. For sure, you need a roadmap, but you don't have to know every turn of that map. It's okay to be going down a straight path and see a path off to the right and think, that looks fun. I'm going to walk down that one. I know this is the paved road and this is great, but that one I like the way that looks. So I'm going to take a path to the right. I'm going to veer off of this straight and narrow path that I've been living on or that I've been working on. And I'm going to spontaneously take that path. And I promise you that will 100% lead to creativity. Going through my notes here. Something that I wrote this one down because as soon as I saw it, I thought of my mom. When I was a kid, my mom used to tell me all the time, when I was in a crowd of adults and there was like serious conversations going on, and I would try to chime in because that was always me. I always wanted to be like the center of the conversation. Not that I needed to be the center of attention, but like I wanted to be involved in the conversation. And my mom told me more times than I can count. She's like, children are to be heard, or let's see, children are to hear and not speak. Or I can't even remember how she said it now, but it was something like that. But basically like knowing to keep your mouth shut and listen to the people around you Nobody does that anymore. Adults talk way more than they listen. And I'm guilty of that sometimes too. Obviously, whether I'm doing a talking head on the camera like we're doing here today, or, you know, if I'm in a room, but sometimes I force myself to take a step back. If I'm in a room full of people, especially if I'm around other creators who have achieved something that I want to achieve, I'm very, very mindful and very, very cautious to be seen and not heard. That's what it was. Children are to be seen and not heard. That's what my mom used to tell me all the time. And it used to drive me crazy when I was a kid. Like, it used to make me mad. I'm like, I want to talk. But that core memory pops back up. Like, if I'm, you know, with a bigger creator and I hear them like starting to have a serious conversation about the creative side of things or the business side of things, I always remind myself to keep my mouth shut and listen, because I can inject into that conversation for sure. And I can sound like I know what I'm talking about. But as soon as you inject yourself into that conversation, you have taken away a little bit of the knowledge that you're going to gain from it. You need to sometimes just listen. You don't need to talk. Just listen. They ask you a question, answer it, but just listen. Take in that knowledge. And I have to remind myself of that, you know, from time to time, because I love to talk to people. But sometimes when that knowledge is there and people are giving that knowledge, you have to, you know, you just got to listen sometimes. You got to take a step back and listen. And that's so hard sometimes when you want to be involved in a conversation or something like that. You got to take a step back and listen. The last serious one, I got one more serious one and one more funny one. Success is a relative term. They don't tell you that when you're a kid, because when you're a kid, people tell you what your successes are. If you're playing baseball, your coach is there telling you, "Oh, you did a great job. You did a great job." You know, whatever it is, they lay out what success looks like for you, all the way through school. And, you know, to me, that's not necessarily a great thing. Like my oldest son, Chase, for example, hated school with a passion. He hated school. The difference was he was a straight A student. Most of the time, those two things don't click. If somebody hates school, they do terrible in school. Not always. And I don't want to say always, but just in general, if a kid hates school, there's a decent chance that kid's not getting good grades in school. And the reason Chase hated school, there's a famous speech out there. It's called "Teaching a Fish to Climb a Tree." And this guy goes on stage. I don't know where it came from. I would love to give credit. This is not my original idea. I want to stress that. It's somewhere on the internet that I saw this, and it's very famous. I'm sure some of you guys have heard of it, but he comes out, he's got a tree sitting there, and he's got a fish bowl, and there's a goldfish in the fish bowl. And he's like, for 12 years, these teachers called this fish a failure because they could never teach it to climb a tree, but they never took the time to teach it to be the best swimmer that it could. And that really hit home with me, especially for Chase. And I'm not knocking Chase's teachers, but they never really understood what his goals were and what his life was. And he knew from a very, very early age what he wanted to do. So he's a smart kid. So he would like go into school, and if they were doing math, he would like hurry up and do his math, get it all right. And then he'd sit there and he'd start doing his drawings for his video games, because that's what he was passionate about. That's what he wanted to do. And I got so many letters like, "We can't get Chase to focus. He's not doing this." And I'm like, "Hey, is he getting good grades?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Then leave him alone." Like, you know, don't make him be a fish trying to climb a tree. He knows what his path is. Let him take that path. As long as he's not causing a disruption in class, as long as he's not, you know, causing other kids not to learn, let him do what he's doing. He's not hurting anything. But so many times, success is a relative term. What they considered successful for Chase was not what his true success was. For him, the math was a byproduct. Yeah, he was fine. He was getting straight A's in math, but his success in his mind was based on those drawings that he was doing. And he was taking them home and he was putting them on a computer and he was designing them into digital art, which he now sells. I would love to go back and tell some of his teachers that there was only a couple. Most of them got it. There was a couple that when he was in public school that they didn't get it. They wanted him to be a fish trying to climb a tree, and that was never going to work for him under any circumstances. So always keep in mind, they don't necessarily tell you this when you're kids. Success is a relative term. You know, what you will consider a success in your life, other people may not consider a success, but that's on them. Don't get caught up in what other people consider successful. You have to measure your success based on what your goals, what your challenges are. That's what you base your success on. Success is a relative term. It always has been. It always will be. The other thing I'm going to leave you guys with is probably the most important. If you're adults, don't lie. You know I'm right. If you're kids, listen to me. Nobody tells you when you're a kid that when you become an adult, everything you need in your pockets will always be on the bottom. Forever. Whether it's your mom's purse, whether it's your dad's pockets, you can put it in the last. How many times have you went to the store, took your car keys out, put them in your pocket, and it slides down, and when you go to get them out, they're on the very, very bottom of your pocket. It does not matter what you need. It doesn't matter whether it's your wallet, your car keys, your pocket knife, whatever. It's going to be on the very bottom of your pocket. Same thing with your cell phone. Moms, you know what I'm talking about. How many times have you opened up your purse and all you needed was your car keys? You put them in there, like right before you walked into Walmart. But then you open up your purse and you can't find them. You got to dig for 14 hours to the bottomless pit that is your purse. And finally, buried in the pits of that purse is your car keys that you just threw on top of everything 30 minutes ago. Guys, that's all I got for you today. I truly hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, make sure you give it a great big thumbs up. As always, make sure you find a way to make somebody smile. You never know. It just might change the world. We can't wait to see y'all on the next one. Y'all take care. We'll see you soon.